Tonight on PM Express, Parliament just made history and they just passed the Right Information Bill after more than a decade. That's where we start tonight. This is not part of the plan, I bet you. I kid you not. This is not what we intended to do until a few minutes ago when Parliament passed this bill. You cannot have a conversation when Parliament just did this. Let's put this in context. This is the longest bill in Parliament history. Not just this Parliament, all Parliament since independence. There's been not a single bill that has been in Parliament this long. In fact, those who know this, and we'll go to Parliament shortly and tell you, the second Deputy Speaker of Parliament, the longest serving Member of Parliament, Alban Babing said, it's been in Parliament since 1996. But most people conservatively say it's been there for more than a decade, now upwards of close to 15 years. It has just been passed by Parliament tonight. It's a night when I'm sure civil society will be popping champagne because the campaign has been going on for years. There have been protest street marches, there have been petitions, there have been boycotts, and well, it's finally here. The Right Information Bill. There's so much in there that will be interrogated. We'll be going live to Parliament for you, bringing reactions from Parliament for you as well. We will also be hearing from the Information Minister who's been in Parliament explaining what happened today and what it means. All that covered for you here on PMX. So when we say we do and bring you the very latest, this is exactly what it means. However, there is a fundamental conversation that we also will be having about the electricity situation in the country, which is still a burning subject. The politics of power supply, sabotage politics or reality. That has been playing out in the last 24 hours in particular. On Monday, Gridco pylon was hacked down. That generated a whole lot of controversy that we know. The Energy Minister, Peter Mewu, describes the incident as sabotage with a political motive. That is what then generated a whole host of controversy that we've seen. The CID, we know, has been to the scene to gather some evidence, and the minister was also there. A committee is also being set up to investigate the same matter as far as the hacking down is concerned. We also know tonight, as far as this is concerned, that a full audit of all electrical installations across the country have also been ordered, again on the back of the discovery that several of these pylons have been targeted as well, in addition to the one that was hacked down, which we now know. What is the background to all this? And this is where the real controversy is. There has been fears of a country returning to the dark days of doom. So the government has denied this quite vehemently, that we are nowhere near that. The MPP and NDC have been, playing the blame game, throwing political capital here, but also the MPP defending quite vehemently what this is not. Now, last week, President Akufo-Addo, in speaking with some, the Ghana Bar Association, made the point about the fact that he inherited a financially crippled sector and they're working to fix it. And this is part of the problem that they are currently also going through as far as the power sector is concerned. Now, the fundamental question remains, is Parliament exercising its oversight to ensure sustainable supply of power? And that's where we'll go. We'll stay in Parliament a lot tonight. And my guests will be joining me on set right after the break. Stay with us here on PMS. We have the packed show tonight. Parliament first, and then the power situation will follow. I want to take it to Parliament right now. Let's join my colleague in Parliament, Joseph Pokugapo, who's been there all day. Parliament is having a marathon session tonight, and it's the reason why you're hearing Parliament passing the Right Information Bill at this time of the day. Let's go live to Gapo now. Hello, Joseph. Joseph, can you hear me? Can you tell us, give us a sense of what happened that led to this historic moment. Give us a sense of the feel in the House on the day when Parliament finally passed this long-standing bill. Okay, let me come to the studio. We'll fix that shortly. We'll go to Parliament. Let me come to this because I have a member of Parliament with me already. Surprised Adam Mutawakilu, he's the ranking member on the Mines and Energy Committee in Parliament. He's here with me. Also, Kojo Poku is an energy expert. Who's also here with me on set. Mr. Mutawakilu is right that we start with this because I know you've been in Parliament. For how long have you been in Parliament? 8 years?
I'm in my 6th year.
Oh, 6th year. So you
now
7 years.
Beginning the 7th year.
Every year you hear about RTI. Surprised that finally it's been passed into law.
Yeah, finally it has been passed, and as we indicated, by next year it will take effect. Mm-hmm. But this has been worked on for several years. Before we went to elections last year, it was just left with some few clauses because Parliament had sat throughout into about 8 to trying to pass it before the 7th Parliament. And it was left with some few clauses when we had the elections and there was a change of government. The majority leader, minority then, now majority, indicated that this government wants to relook at it. And as a result, the few clauses that could have been passed and then it becomes law had to be delayed. And you know, anytime we have a new parliament, everything has to start all over again. Okay. So when the 7th parliament came to effect, then the RTIB had to start.
In fact, I remember you blamed the minority, this current majority, for scuttling that effort to pass it just before the new year.
Because there was agreement that we have to pass it before the 7th parliament. And we had worked with it. It was just like with some few clauses that should be done. But immediately after the election, and there was change of government, there was that dragging feet, not the way we took it before the elections. So now that it's been passed, I think, thank God, and we believe that next year it will take effect.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Let's go to Parliament now. Joseph, can you hear me? Joseph is in the House tonight with the very latest. Joseph, walk me through the moment this bill was passed.
At a point in time, there was a sense it may never happen, at least this evening. What had happened is that you would recall that some civil society groups had approached Parliament with recommendations for additional amendments. And so the minority leader, Haruna Idrisu, attempted moving a motion to do what they call arresting the processes to allow for the third reading and eventual approval. There was a back and forth there between himself and the majority leader, Haruna Osaiche Mensah, which lasted for quite a while, close to 20-30 minutes, until eventually Haruna Idrisu indicated on the floor that all he was seeking to do was to request for a second consideration of the bill in the interest of the request that had come to them from the civil society organizations. But if the majority was resisting it, he was letting it go. So he withdrew his attempted motion to arrest the third reading. And so eventually the second deputy speaker, Alban Bagbin, gave the green light for the information minister, Kojo Nkrumah, to go ahead and do the third reading of the bill, and eventually indicated that it's been passed. And the second deputy speaker did run a bit of commentary even after that, indicating that he is happy himself. He said that this is a bill that they started a conversation around back in 1999. Back in 1999, with the Institute for Economic Affairs seeking to get it passed, and he sees this as a very, very historic moment that everyone can actually be proud of. And he went on to call on the president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, to make do with his pledge and ensure that he assents it and makes it law as soon as possible. Sometime around 8:30 p.m. was when the bill was eventually approved by Parliament. And the Information Minister, Kojo Ponkroma, has been speaking to the media subsequently. He says they're just waiting on Parliament to do the final finishing touches, crossing the T's and dotting the I's. And then once that is done and it's ready, the president is ready to assent it as soon as possible.
I see. And you make the point about the civil society groups who had come in with their own set of concerns in the final moments when this was about being passed. Do I get the impression that the concerns that he had raised had not been addressed before this was passed?
Precisely so. So they had requested for some amendments, including demands that when it comes to the timelines by when some of the officials of the Right to Information Commission, like the chair, the commissioner, him or herself, and then the officers, they were asking for an amendment that will allow for a timeline by when we should see those appointments being made, so that then the implementation of the law would come into effect as soon as possible. But according to the chairman of Parliament's Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee, Ben Abdallah, they had met with the media coalition when it comes to the RTI and agreed with them on how it should be like. And they go on to indicate that, and Kojo Ponkroma rightly made that point, that no legislation is sacrosanct in this country, and that even the Constitution possibly may have some flaws. So the expectation is that the concerns that the CSOs had raised, which there wasn't an eventual agreement on what the way forward should be, with passing time, it will be possible to do amendments to the law which Parliament has passed, so that then it would be an improved one. But he makes the point that government is 100% convinced that despite the suggestions for amendment from the CSOs, the bill in its current form will deliver good for Ghanaians and will ensure availability of information as and when Ghanaians want it.
And Joseph, I'm curious, it's not always that you see Parliament sitting around this time. What really is the reason why Parliament is sitting this late? Is it because of the to pass the RTI bill, or there's something else happening? Because in my experience, this only happens when Parliament is about rising and there are very urgent matters of state that needs attention. What is it this time?
That's true. You'll recall that there's been previous deadlines that Parliament has given to actually get this passed, which hadn't materialized. In fact, the latest one was Friday, which was the deadline. It didn't materialize, and then we were told it would be done on Tuesday. That was yesterday. That didn't materialize. So it looks like today the commitment to really get it out, so that then continually missing the deadline doesn't happen one more time. So earlier in the day, sometime around 2:30 p.m. was when they'd wanted to go through the process, but the majority leader, Osei Mensah-Bonsu, indicated that they needed to do some additional consultation based on the request that had come from the civil society organizations for that additional amendment. So he requested that the House suspend sitting and come back to it. They came back sometime around 6 p.m., and then they decided that they'll look at other businesses, including the Chartered Institute of Bankers Act, which they had spent some considerable amount of time considering. And at a point in time, around 8 o'clock, they pulled brakes on that and decided to get to the RTI bill and to get it out. So clearly, they wanted to avoid a situation where one of the deadlines that they had set again for themselves to get the bill passed will be missed once again, which obviously was their motivation. And so when the steps were being taken by the majority leader, that there should be, by the minority leader, Harun Idrisu, I should say, that there should be a second consideration of the document, the majority was really hesitant, and the majority leader was insisting that they really needed to go through the process and actually get it passed. And when it was eventually passed, he went on, the majority leader, to make the point that they are confident that with everything that has been said about this bill and civil society groups asking for it, governance in the country would be improved going forward, even with its passage, once the president assents it and makes it law.
So that's a question now. What next? Now the Parliament has passed it in the chamber. What other processes remains until it gets onto the president's desk for his signature?
And so the good news with this is that the last amendment that was done on it was actually on last week, Friday. So the expectation is that when it comes to finishing touches that really need to be made to the bill that's been lying in Parliament, it should be almost done by now. Because if maybe there had been some amendment today, then the expectation is that going into tomorrow and the next few days, then in terms of incorporating those amendments into the original bill that was brought to the House, that could be done. But the last such amendment, and in fact that amendment which was done on Friday, is a very crucial one. Previously, when the bill came to Parliament, the indication is that the ministry that will oversee its implementation would be the Attorney General's office. But the amendment was done on Friday, and now the new document says is the Information Minister that would oversee its implementation.
Oh, I see.
And in fact, the minority leader raised issues with that they felt this is more focused on helping deal with corruption, so the AG should have been in charge. But he said they would let that push go. So that amendment was done on Friday. Today, there's not been any amendments. The next steps are that Parliament will go ahead and correct anything else that needs to be corrected in terms of the amendment that had come on the floor of Parliament to the original legislation that was brought to the House. And when that is done, the clerk will transmit the full document to the presidency and indicate that Parliament has gone ahead and passed it, and so the president should go ahead and assent it. The information minister was hesitant on giving specific timelines by when they are hoping the president will go ahead and do the assent, but he gave the commitment that once Parliament finishes with everything else, cleaning it up and all, and is transmitted to the presidency, the president is ready and willing to assent it as soon as possible. But let's remember again that there's a clause that was provided in that document that when it comes to the full implementation of the RTI law, there's a 1-year grace period which has actually been given to government. And so even after it's assented by the president, implementation won't come into force right away. The information minister indicated that as they prepare for the midterm budget review, which is coming on in July, they would be making the necessary provisions to allow for the necessary funding so that then the processes can begin. But government still has a 1-year grace period within which they will then see the implementation. And in summary, what this law seeks to do is that it provides guidelines by which if you need any information at all from any state agency, there will be the training of information officers across all government ministries, departments, and agencies. And so you can write to them directly and request for any information that you need. In case you are denied that information that you need, then there will be the setting up of an RTI commission headed by a commissioner and deputies, and they are supposed to have offices here in the capital and across the country. When you are denied the information by any ministry, department, or agency that you have the right to write to directly and request for it, then you appeal to the Right to Information Commission and request that they intervene, and then they will do the necessary checks and ensure that if the information is given to you, it won't harm the nation or anything like that. Then that can be provided for you. That's in summary what the RTI law would seek to do when it comes into force eventually.
Joseph, I'm grateful that you joined us with that update there. And so if you're just joining us, it's breaking news as you roll it on our screens there, as you see it at the bottom end of that screen, is the Parliament, after more than 10 years, has finally passed the RTI bill. My guest in the studio is still Kojo Poku, who is an energy expert, and Adam Mutavakilu, who is going into his 7th year in Parliament and has seen RTI bill in all his 7 years and never managed to see it to the end. But now he has, ranking member on the Mines and Energy Committee. Mr. Poku, as we go, we're talking about energy, and yesterday the Energy Minister made a fascinating pronouncement after the hacking down of the pylon of the Gridco, saying that it is sabotage with political motive. And I know Adam Matawakilu on my show was asking for the evidence. Where's the evidence to back that? If the RTI bill was active, all I could do was just write to him and demand that he produces what the evidence is to back that.
It's an excitement for you, journalists and people in the media, that you feel that something.
But for you too?
No, I mean,
you're an expert. You need information
let me tell you why I'm not excited.
Tell me.
Look, in 2011, there was a bill that we, in my sector, okay, Renewable Energy Act 832, were very enthused to get it passed, and it was passed. After it was passed, none of the acts in there is being used to do anything.
Oh, wow.
My deflation when it comes to acts being passed by Parliament is the implementation of the act. Okay. Clearly, in the 832, there's a lot of things that it says that we can all take it to task if we truly want to.
Except that this one is different, though.
No, how different? My brother, what I'm saying to you that yes, it's exciting. Since it's been overdue, everybody has their agitation.
This is euphoria.
Euphoria.
Yeah.
Now it's past.
You think the euphoria will fade?
It will fade.
And reality will set in.
Exactly.
And reality will set in.
Because now it's you see what your brother said at the end of it.
Yeah.
When you need information and you are denied, you go to the commission, and the commission will look whether you have a right to it in the first place.
Yeah.
So it's a process. Let's clap that Parliament has done something that has been there for 20 years. You said 10. It says 1999.
1999, yes. There's more than that. 2 decades.
Let's clap for them. They've done something. But let's move on to the topic that we need to start this evening.
Yeah. So let's start with that because that's where we begin. But there's more fundamental issues in the NHS that we'll also address in the next one. But when you had the minister say that yesterday, your reaction was?
Well, my reaction is that somebody committed a terrorist act. Look, to me, that's the furthest I'll go. It's a terrorist act.
It's a terrorist act?
Yes, it is. Look, the pylons, the 161 and the 330 kV pylons are not just like the 67 kV lines which a car can hit. These are huge.
You mean the ones that supply power to my home?
Yes.
They're not like that?
The smaller ones. The 161, which is a similar one to what the person hacked, is the backbone of our electricity. Now, the malice in somebody's head to go and do this. I don't want to pronounce that it's a political act because we don't know who did it. We don't know the motive behind the person who did it. I want to say something on your platform, and I think your platform goes far, and all the Joy multimedia can pick it up. I want to offer a reward of $1,000 to whoever will give a tip-off to the police. That will lead to the successful arrest of whoever did that. I will prepare to give that person.
Why is it so important to you that you want to put your money on it?
We need to know the motive behind why somebody will risk his life to go and hack down that pole.
Was the person risking his life?
Yes.
You are the expert.
No,
tell me why.
Let me tell you why. Those poles, at home, the electricity you have that shocks you at home is 240 kilovolts.
Even that can kill you.
That can kill you. Now you are looking at 161 kV lines, which is a high tension line. Now you can sometimes see them give a little spark. If he now took those bolts off and the line didn't go where he wanted it to go and it came the reverse, the weight of the pole will kill him or he can be electrocuted. To risk your life, and I don't think it was just one individual that did that. Let's not think it was just one person who got out of his house to go and do that. I'm thinking it's a bunch of people who planned this and went and commit that terrorist act. I want to call it a terrorist act, and I'm prepared to offer $1,000 to the police. Whoever comes up and give a credible information to the arrest of that person can earn that money.
The point
we need to call out people out for these criminal acts, and the police need to be helped too.
The point you just made, if a citizen is willing to put $1,000 on to find the criminals who did this, do you think that the state is handling this with all the seriousness it deserves?
Well, what can the state do? The state can let the police do its work.
Because now, anywhere in the world where the national grid is attacked, it's major big deal.
Well, I'll be honest with you. Anywhere in the world where these pylons are will probably have CCTV cameras and stuff. But we don't live in that kind of country.
But are you serious? Where all these pylons are in the forest it's impossible.
In Ghana, we have them in the forest.
Yes.
Abroad, where you have these pylons are not necessarily, there are some that are deserted, but in those deserted areas, hardly do individuals really trespass in those areas. In the US and other places, even electrical generation installations are national security installations.
Absolutely, and that's the point I'm making.
Exactly. So the point is, we have.
So I understand why you call it terrorist act, because elsewhere it would have been.
Clearly, it is. Yeah. But it's all over. We have them all over in the bushes, on the highways, in Fadama area.
So it's impossible to police almost.
Of course, we can't police them, but the point is citizenry can be vigilant in policing these things. If you see somebody walking by these things, standing next to them, please approach and find out why they are there. If they are not doing it, because they're not supposed to be next to these pillars, these poles.
Oh yeah, I don't want to kill you. So the minister, so this is the expert's view that he doesn't want to add a political thing to it. But the minister says it's sabotage. One, you agree sabotage?
I've done my checks.
Okay.
as ranking and the minority, I collaborated with some of my colleagues, and we realized that it was intentional. It was intentional.
So you agree, sabotage?
Was either the person or group wanted to register some displeasure or intend to do something. And as minority, we condemn it in uncertain terms. And we urge the security and the committee to do everything possible to bring this individual or group to book and set it as an example to others. Because this is the first time we have them around. Why that place? I believe that this person wants people to see.
Okay. So where is this place? Help me understand where this place is. Okay.
Just by a GridCo office.
Okay. Okay, I get the picture now. So I'm going to do it. I could have done it the farthest place possible.
The farthest place possible.
And that's what terrorism thing comes in. It's to strike fear and for you to see that I am causing the damage.
Yeah, terrorists, I'll look at it perspective, whether it's a terrorist act.
Is it terrifying? If you did it in the village or in the forest, it wouldn't terrify you as much.
That is another thing.
If you did it close to...
I will not call it a terrorist act.
What would you call it?
But I believe that there is the need, as I indicated, and as an indicator, we condemn it.
Okay.
And everything that will be possible to bring these people to book, we must do it. However, the minister set up a committee. At the same time, say politically motivated. I think he should be the first person to be called before the committee to provide evidence. You know, it was a reckless statement.
Why?
You see...
You don't know the information he was acting on.
No. Then he need not set up a committee.
Because he mentioned...
The moment you set up a committee, don't prejudice the committee.
You remember that he said also that there was intelligence.
What I'm saying is that the moment you set up a committee, you don't prejudice the committee.
No, but the committee will be working based on some assumptions. No, and if the intelligence had gone already,
let me tell you,
what he's saying is,
let me tell you, if you have the evidence,
I get that.
You compromise them.
The committee's work is failures.
Do you get my point? The first and foremost thing is that this is a national asset that we must protect. And therefore, you depoliticize it. Let the investigative team come out with the findings. If you told to your line, you said, I also expected that, then you have done a good job. But the moment you go this way, we know when it takes a political dimension, how it ends. And if these people are not politicians, you are just providing a cover-up for criminals.
What's your own suspicion who these people might be?
I believe that these are technical people.
Why?
No, I don't know. These are people who have much knowledge about electricity.
Why do you suspect that?
Looking at the level of voltage that this thing carries and the style at which they used, you know that these are technical people. These are people who have been dealing in settings for some time. And that is why I urge the committee that they should broaden their investigation. They should broaden it.
So the point you're making, technical people, is that no ordinary person will dare do what has happened unless you have a certain understanding of the power it's carrying, what it can do to you,
the danger it involves, how you could do it and exit before.
That's what you're saying.
That I believe. Because if you look at the nature of pylons, most people even fear to go very close to it.
That's true.
The ordinary Ghanaian fear to go very close to it. So if somebody could go to that point, then you know that this person has some knowledge in the transmission.
In fact, you have suggested that the first place to look to is at GridCo itself.
I said that GridCo has been going through some challenges for now. They normally pay their workers on 22nd. Today is 26th. They're not yet paid. Their 3 months arrears, allowances, hasn't been paid. They are seriously in financial challenges. You know that 2018 they couldn't do routine repairs and maintenance because their financials are not good. So they curtailed it. They only do what we call critical maintenances, repairs and maintenances. Even the staffing, they are not able to recruit in 2018. So I said, when you are looking, don't look far. Start from within. Somebody could be dissatisfied and want to register his displeasure. So you look from within and go beyond. That is what I'm suggesting. So anybody could be dissatisfied and decide to that this is the way I want to register my displeasure. And therefore, when you politicize it, takes a different dimension. It limits the people from doing, and why I'm saying it limits them, because if the minister has made a statement, said it is political, the committee will find, which he set up, will find it difficult to come out and know it is not true. Because at the end of the day, he will receive the report. It is not the committee. They will submit the report to him.
But they must have evidence that leads to that conclusion.
But that is why he shouldn't have made that statement. He need not. Once you have set up the committee, the intelligence agencies are working. You just let everybody know. Let's hand it over to these people. Whatever they come up with, we will work on it. And we've experienced other areas of this. We wrote some time ago, market issues came up. We brought people from, and we carry out the investigation and all that. So when you are a leader, you have to be careful when you take certain steps, and they want those committees want to come out with a report. You don't make certain statements.
Okay.
Leave it to the people and allow them to do their work.
Kojo, so you had it. He talks about the technical skill you require to even approach a pylon and attempt to do something like this.
Well, yes, that holds water a little bit, but I wouldn't stretch and go as far as maybe people whose salaries are old or 3 months old. It's possible. Everything is possible under this earth.
True.
That is why for us, and again, since a committee has been formed, and I have also sat on your platform and offered $1,000 for whoever who can give a tip-off for the person to be arrested, let's come, hold fire, and let's see the real reason who and when the person is arrested. I'm sure, inshallah, we'll arrest this person and find the truth behind this. But do you really need that technical know-how to risk your life for stupidity? To me, it goes beyond that. It's really a mark of, I wouldn't even call it a mark of bravery, because what is bravery with this?
No, it's not.
It's not.
It can be cowardice.
You see, you remove the knots of a pylon. Now you are hoping that when you remove the knot, it will tilt in the other direction. It could have tilted in your direction.
In this case, though, they didn't even remove the knots. They just applied a chemical.
No, they did. In one instance,
okay,
it tilted over, they actually removed it. They didn't remove it. They actually cut the knots.
You see, the hand from the information,
yes,
they didn't cut it off.
They cut the
They
bolts.
cut it to some point, thinking that it can still hold it for a little while from the briefing that I got, so that at least they will have an opportunity
to run,
to distance themselves from
before it tilted. But is that what happened? We don't know.
We don't know.
Exactly. So the point is, let's not speculate, okay? But for me, whether it's Greco staff who are grieved, whether it's an idiot aboard at home, or it's a madman who doesn't have work to do and he wants to kill himself, or somebody wants to commit suicide, we want to get to the bottom of this. And we all, as he is saying, everybody, executive, parliamentarian, citizenry, everybody. I posted this on my WhatsApp today, and everybody is bewildered that a Ghanaian
could do that.
Yeah, could do that.
Yeah.
That is terrible.
Yeah.
That is why I'm calling it a terrorist act, because you're calling it terrorism.
You see, when you look at the investment in the transmission, you are involved, you will not dare tamper with settings. Under the NDC, there are a lot of investment that has gone in the power sector. And when you come to transmission, a lot has gone in. If you take the Tumu-Wanhine transmission, 161 kV, if you take the Kumasi-Pristia transmission line, 330 kV, we have the Pristia-Obuasi transmission line, 330 kV. Then we have the Pando-KJB transmission line, 161 kV, and many more that were handed over to this government. Even though they have difficulties in progressing the way it did under NDC. And as I speak, one of them has been, the donor has suspended it. If
Why?
you look, because it was tied to certain financial ratios of GRIDCO.
Okay.
Yes, and more especially the liquidity ratio. Because the loan facility that AFD is giving, $163.73 million. And every year, as they generate their financials, they calculate the liquidity ratio. That tells you your ability to pay back.
Okay.
Now, in 2017, the ratio is 0.92:1. That means that if you take your current assets, you cannot even pay for your current liabilities. So AFD realized that, okay, your ratios are not in line with what we had agreed on, and had suspended disbursement. And as we speak, the contractor is claiming $21 million for delay overruns.
That's from Gridco?
From Gridco. So most of them that were handed over are not progressing. But if you look at the cost, $163 million, you not attempt to tamper with such an asset.
Yeah. Now, but Kojo, there are fundamental issues, and we cannot ignore the timing of this, right? Whoever did this also chose the timing quite well. We're coming on the back of some power challenges, and unlucky PDS. They came on the scene, and within the first week, they had, serious challenges that we've not seen, the likes we've not seen for a while. And so this person thinks, okay, government has already had their backs on the ropes. If you want to do something, do it now, because then it creates, because there are people who actually believe that this is probably self-inflicted because government wants an excuse. The situation is getting bad. Let's have an excuse where we can cite and say, well, look at what has happened. This is the reason why we are having the challenges. But obviously we know that's not the case, because why would government do that? So that's out there. But the person chose the time. So it goes to the heart of the fundamental challenge with the power sector, right? So we have PDS that has come on the scene and has all these challenges all of a sudden that they have to deal with. They tell us it's maintenance. Your own view is what?
Well, I put it as a combination. Look, there is indebtedness in the energy sector. Nobody will tell you that there isn't.
The president actually last week says that his government...
I think we'll be tackling that.
Yes. We are doing it now. His government left huge debt.
Well, yes.
And that they are clearing. Let me speak, then we'll come to that.
Let me clarify that, okay? We all heard Mr. Ajakun when he was being vetted in Parliament. Yeah. And he gave the amount at which they have inherited.
Yes.
And he put at that point $2.4 billion of indebtedness in the energy sector. We would have thought, some of us would have thought that when you came and met $2.4 billion with any surgical operation, when there's hemorrhaging, you stop the hemorrhaging.
That's what they did.
No.
The president says that's what they've done.
No, they did not. The MPP did not stop the hemorrhaging. Look, they met 2.4 billion, which the NDC left.
Yeah.
Yes. But they did not stop the bills being piled up. They went into the market, got the ESLA money to reduce some of the debt, which brought some relief to VRA and some of the companies.
I mean, so isn't that stopping the bleeding?
No. How does that stop the bleeding? If you...
They've got the ESLA debt to come and clear the debt.
Brother, let's be very clear here. We all bleed. When you are bleeding, and you go and get tissue to clean the blood, you've not stopped the bleeding, you've only cleaned the blood. So you're still going to bleed, and you need more tissue or cotton wool to clean the blood.
In this context, I don't understand what you mean.
No, what I'm saying is that the bleeding is the piling of the debt. The NDC piled the debt. As of 2017 January, when we all heard Honorable Ajakun being vetted, he told us how much the debt was.
Yeah.
Some of us would have expected that the government would have stopped the piling on the debt, ring-fence the debt, stop it, and then tackle the debt.
Yeah.
They didn't do that. Though they have gone to ESLA and reduced the debt, the debt has still been piled up from 2017 to date. So you ask yourself, go into the books and find out how much is the debt that MPP has piled on from the time that they...
When you say they piled on the debt...
Because it's a recurring debt.
I get the point I'm making. Okay. However, the 2.5 billion that you talk about, they went for the bond to clear that. That was clear.
They didn't clear all of it. No, they didn't clear all
of it. But they
cleared,
significantly knocked it off.
If you lock... Okay, let me explain. So let's assume they paid off the debt they met.
Yeah.
So the new debt came from where?
I mean, but it's operating.
No, exactly.
I mean, but the business is operating.
Let me make my point.
First of all, I don't have information on what the debt is tonight. Do you know what the debt is tonight?
The point I'm trying to make, and that's why my brother is laughing. The point I'm trying to make is that the indebtedness in the energy sector, okay, is not the cause of the challenges we are having in the sector. It's not. Look, when the NDC were in power and the MPP said that the doomsday was financial, I did not agree to it. Because I thought it was a more technical challenge, lack of installed capacity, which was causing the doomsday when NDC was in power. The same way I don't agree with NDC when they say that the current challenges we are having is a result of indebtedness or financial challenges. Because look, the IPPs who are producing today, the like of Asogli, Car Power, and they are old money, yes. But have they stopped producing electricity? They have not. As I speak to you, they are all producing. They know government owes them.
They know government will pay.
Exactly. So they have not stopped producing. Can that indebtedness continue forever? We don't know that. Is it healthy for the sector to continue piling on debt? It's not. So that is why there's a need for a pragmatic approach to stop the hemorrhage.
So what is the pragmatic approach?
The pragmatic approach is that government, what we thought, again, would have happened with the PDS coming on board, would have been to ring-fence the debt government had. Going on to PDS, government will now say, look, prepaid meters for all ministries, SOEs, and state.
Which is what they're doing now.
No, which is not what they're doing, no.
My
brother sitting here in their committee, Energy Committee of Parliament, approved an agreement for PDS to have 5 ministries ring-fenced as special ministries. Those ministries are Ministry of Interior, Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, Office of the President. Now, when you talk about Ministry of Health, you're not talking about just the ministry sitting there. You're talking about all the hospitals beneath Ministry of Health.
So those ones can operate without?
Those ones cannot be prepaid. Government is accepting responsibility to pay those debts. And my question is, why are we doing this to ourselves? These are the very institutions that cannot pay their debts.
Okay, let me bring Mutawakili on this.
You see,
you left that debt. So why is the moral authority to question this government when they're trying to fix it?
When you say legacy debt, doesn't necessarily mean NDC.
I have NDC say this, but you accumulated you accumulated a majority of it.
No, but that still makes it legacy debt, not NDC debt.
But
that one must be set right. It's legacy debt. Now, this is a government, President Mahama, who came in and saw that there is a liquidity problem. I won't go to generation because I have to tackle the debt. And there is the need to take a bitter decision to fix it. So he brought ESLA in December 2015 so that the legacy debt will be cleared so that the financial position of these state-owned enterprises will be now so they can stand on their feet to be able to raise money to run their own activities. You know that that time MPP criticized it and said it was a nuisance tax, and therefore when they come, they will reverse it. They came to power and embraced it. An act that has a sunset clause of 5 years was extended to even 15 years. The president, when he was inaugurating the PURC board in 2017 October, made it categorically clear by first quarter 2018, the legacy there would have been settled. He made it categorically clear when he was inaugurating. He used that ESLA, set up a special purpose vehicle, ESLA PLC, raise bond. Your predecessor has left what you will use to raise money to settle the legacy debt. It has raised revenue. In 2017, it raised 2.8 billion Ghana cedis. Now, you raise 4.7 billion to support the power sector agencies, including GRICO, including VRA, including ECG. Meanwhile, their financials are getting worse. What sort of support is this? 2016, their financials is better than 2017, their financials. Better than 2018, their financials. What did you use that money for? There is that question we must ask. And ask, what is the impact of that pot of money that President Mahama left You have used it to raise a bond. Meanwhile, these sector agencies are getting bad in terms of their financials.
Well, why are you speaking for them?
He used 600 million of this money to pay pension funds arrears.
That hasn't
pension
been proven,
arrears.
has it?
It is proven.
I've heard that rumor though, but nobody has proven it.
600 million, if they want, they should come and dispute it. 600 million to pay pension arrears. What has pension arrears got to do with the power sector? So, apart from leaving that money, you are not even able to use that money to clear out the legacy debt. Let's come to their own. VRA since 2017 has been consuming Ghana gas, has no penny. The last time in 2017, Ghana Gas said they might not be
But that has been a long-standing problem.
No, but we expect that when you come and you want to fix the problem, you don't incur more debts. VRA has been consuming Ghana Gas 2017. As we speak today, VRA owe Ghana Gas $735 million.
I have a rhetorical question because of time.
Let me just touch on this.
Yes, very briefly.
If you now come in October, ENI started supplying gas. VRA is consuming the gas since October. Today, they haven't paid anything. Today, the escrow account has been emptied. Do you know where government wants money to pay that debt?
Where?
GMPC. Their 2019 work program. Government is requesting GMPC to go and borrow $250 million for it to pay the debt. What has GMPC got to do with the power sector? It's an off-taker and has nothing to do with this consumption of that gas and your inability to pay. You are bringing GMPC to pay. The report we are getting, we the minority say we will not support to use GMPC as a vehicle to raise money to pay. That debt did not come in play during President Mama's term. It's getting worse. IPPs are not being paid under Nana Akufo-Addo. As we speak, about $900 million owned to IPPs. President Nana Akufo-Addo is not paying.
Okay,
so we expect that whatever you met with that pot of money, you should put a halt and start improving upon it.
Okay.
But you are incurring more, and you are still blaming President Mama for your inefficiency.
For the sake of time, the rebuck to all that you said is, if all that you said is true, the IPPs are in this country, they're businesses, right? And the business is leaking that much of money, you say, and they never complain. And yet, we're not having
they're complaining. Don't say they're not complaining.
Let me
complaining to who? We don't have time, unfortunately. But fundamentally, for me, where I say, I don't have a power situation.
Right.
There's no doom so.
Well, exactly.
And so
that's
everything is fine. I mean, because if it's as bad as he says,
yes.
It's bad, but doom so will expose you.
No, but government is government. You see, government will never grind to a halt.
Anyway, by the way,
let me come.
30 seconds, and let's wrap up.
You see, the IPPs are interesting. You can incur the debt. There is a day to catch up with you. And that is when you experience 24 hours doom so. The transmission like that trip, people say technical, it's not technical, it's financial. Gridco knew of it, but no resources to maintain it.
I see.
And as I indicated, 2018, there's no repairs and maintenance. It was stopped. So if they had maintained it,
you won't have that problem.
Would they have that
30 seconds, Kojo.
Well, I clearly says that, look, there are financial challenges. What I entreat MPP to do is to stop the piling on of debt and raise money. Because look, if not, government will not grind to a halt. We all know that. Government is almighty. Yeah. Government can always find money.
It's almost impossible not to incur debt in the sector.
Exactly. So government will always incur debt. But I don't think that the current challenges we have here and there is financial.
You think it's what, technical?
It's somehow technical. Sometimes yes, maybe a few.
Yeah, just that.
But it's few. But what I want to assure Ghanaians is that we are far away from ever going back to what we were to do.
Thank you very much, Kojo Poku. That way, we just run out of time on this. I'm grateful that you joined us. Adam Mutawakilu, who is a minority spokesperson on energy. Kojo Poku is energy expert. We had in fact invited the opposite side of the house, which is the NPP members on the Mines Energy Committee, to be here, particularly Mr. Duka, who had agreed to come but had an emergency and is unable to be here. And so if you didn't see the representation from the other side of the House, that's the reason why. But have a great evening, and tomorrow when we wake up, we'll begin to digest what happened in Parliament with the passage of the RTI bill. Enjoy the rest of your evening.